If someone's mood shifts and your stomach drops instantly, this is for you. I used to assume that if someone was quiet, tense, distracted, or even just in a bad mood, it must somehow be about me. It didn't matter who it was, a parent, a friend, a coworker, even a moody cashier. If the energy changed, I changed. I assumed that I had done something to upset them, that I had offended them, that I said something wrong, that I came off as rude, or something that I said was misinterpreted to be something nasty, which, as you've heard me say before in my other podcasts, I tend to think about other interpretations of what I say just because I don't want to be the person causing someone else pain. I don't want to be the person creating a nasty, combative environment because that's just not who I am. I'm a pretty sensitive person and I would not like others to treat me that way, so I do not treat others that way. And I've been known to say if there's two ways to take what I just said, one of them is nasty and one of them is not, please understand that I would not intentionally put you down or make nasty comments to you to hurt your feelings or to embarrass you or anything of that sort. And I didn't even realize that my energy was actually changing. I didn't realize how enmeshed I was in making sure that I wasn't offending other people or that I wasn't coming off as rude because that's not who I am. And I didn't want to be rude, especially to strangers or to people that didn't know me, because that's just not who I am. And if you are that type of person who relates with that, know that that is just being conscientious, maybe too conscientious, maybe being a little, some might say overzealous, some might say worrying about offending others can kind of be a little bit overboard at times. That's fine, but I always want to present myself to be a person who treats others the way that they should be treated. So, the pattern. When you grow up scanning emotional weather, you learn to internalize it. A mood shift clearly means that something is wrong. And if you grew up in that kind of environment, then you know that there is going to be some sort of reaction, whether that reaction is passive aggression, whether that reaction is ignoring you while you're talking to them or trying to figure out what's going on, whether it's yelling, whether it's a punishment, whether it's a cold shoulder, where they don't want to talk to you for maybe a day or longer. And then once you feel like something is wrong, you might go through your checklist. Like, what did I say? Did I offend them? Did I hurt their feelings? Did I anger them? Did I not do what they expected me to do? Did I not hear them and they think that I ignored them intentionally? Like, what is going on? Like, what has frustrated them so much that they are so upset with me at this current time? And then you check yourself. And people who likely have not experienced that kind of trauma in the home likely do not check themselves, right? Because in healthier homes, this is not something that happens on a regular basis. And so the person from the healthier home isn't going to go through that shift. They're not going to go through, oh my gosh, this person had a mood shift. Because a lot of people do not automatically try to check the weather, right? The weather of their environment. Because a lot of people are used to steady parenting. They're used to being able to communicate with their caregiver in a healthy, natural, calm environment. And so they would have no reason to check themselves because they've not had to check the weather, because they have even consistency. And ultimately, the problem with all of this is it becomes automatic. It becomes second nature. You find yourself checking people that you don't even know, right? Wondering, like, did I do something? Like, this person is being not very nice to me, or they're being rude to me, and I don't understand why, because I'm not the type of person who's being rude and nasty to people. I don't like confrontation. I've said that multiple times, and I know a lot of you have heard me say that, and you're like, she's crazy. Like, isn't she an attorney? Yes, I'm an attorney, but I still don't really like confrontation, especially nasty confrontation. Sorry, I couldn't get that out. And so then all of a sudden, you're in the moment where you're replaying your words. Like, if there's two ways to take what I just said, like, what did I say? Like, I'm not really sure. I'm trying to go back and think if I inadvertently blurted something out that I didn't mean to blurt out, or, sometimes you have the moment where your mouth says one thing and your brain says another. So I'm like, oh my goodness, could I have done that? And then you overcorrect. And then once you overcorrect, you even might apologize even when no one corrected you. And you try to smooth it out. You try to be the peacemaker. You try to keep the peace. Because when there's peace, things are okay. Things get smoothed over. And especially, let's say, for instance, you're not in your hometown. You're somewhere else. Are you ever going to see this person again? Likely not. Especially if you're away from where you're from. And then when you try to smooth it out, you're like, why am I even doing this? I don't even really know why. I don't know what upset someone. I'm assuming it upset someone, because I feel like there's a lot of times where, like, I always upset people. Like, I don't mean to, but like, it happens. How many of you feel like that? You're like, no matter what I do, like, if I try to be nice, like, it's like, don't try to butter me up, or if you try to say you're sorry and they're like, well, why do you always keep apologizing? Like, why do you do that? Like, that is such a weakness of yours. And then you're like, oh my goodness, like, this is a catch-22. Like, I just want to smooth things over. I just want to say, like, if I offended you, I'm sorry. Like, well, what are you apologizing to me for? Like, I don't even know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're doing. Like, you're just being irrational. That's not self-centered. That's conditioning. You were taught in whatever environment you grew up in that you had to smooth things over, that you had to make sure that you didn't offend someone, that you were on your best behavior, and that your behavior could unintentionally cause someone to have a mood swing or get upset for some minor thing. And that minor infraction could cost you dearly. You could potentially be ignored for a period of time. You could potentially get punished for something that you didn't even mean to do. You could be potentially gaslighted or manipulated, or have projection hurled at you, like you were trying to be mean to people. Let me tell you what my turning point was in this scenario, and I want to share this with you, and I hope that you will be able to use this and utilize this for what it's worth. I remember when my husband had come to me, and I remember talking about how I didn't really like to hurt other people, and I tried to be as kind and compassionate as I could be. And I remember having a scenario where somebody, I think it was like a cashier at a gas station or something, and she was just very snappy with me. And I remember her saying to me, I know you, and you've been around here for a very long time, and you're always doing this, and you're always mean to me, and you're always nasty to me. And she's like, I'm not waiting on you. And I was like, excuse me, I just have a question. Like, I'm not from here. Well, you look like so-and-so. Okay, well, I might look like so-and-so, but I am not so-and-so. Okay, I'm not. And I'm not even from here. And she was like, well then, I don't know that I believe that. And I was like, okay, well, I'm not. Okay, I don't know why you're treating me this way. I've never seen you before in my life. I don't know you. And I remember telling my partner that story, and he said to me, it's not always about you. Now, like I've mentioned to you before, I'm a sensitive person. So you know how I took that comment? I took that comment as if he was trying to say, that I thought that the world revolved around me and that people had to keep my feelings in mind and do what I wanted them to do. However, that was the wrong reading. That was my own insecurity who was misreading what he was trying to say to me. And so my interpretation, I kind of thought like it was a rude kind of comment is what I took it as, because it's not always about you. Well, obviously I know the world doesn't revolve around me. I know that we have to be compassionate to others. I know that we have to give others love. We need to give others compassion and encouragement and all of that. I agree with that 100%. But I took what he was saying wrong. And here's what he was saying. He was not saying that I thought the world revolved around me. He was saying, when he said, it's not always about you. That was actually a very insightful moment, because what it means is I do not have the power to upset. I do not have the power to upset every single person, right? And I am not always in control of others' emotions, right? Because they don't know me. I don't know them. So I would not have the power to make someone feel like that. And ultimately, his whole thing was people can be upset for various reasons that have nothing to do with you. Could it potentially be something that you had to do with? Sure. But it's not always about you. Sometimes they're just having a bad day, right? Sometimes they're not feeling well. Sometimes they don't want to go to work that day, but they have to, because if they don't, then they might get let go from their job, right? Maybe they have a family member who's sick. You don't know what people are going through, right? And so that goes with the other token of just be nice if you can. You never know what people are actually dealing with. So yes, I took it with the negative spin because it kind of made me feel self-conscious, because I thought that's what he was saying, but I was wrong. But doesn't it give you so much more power and freedom to realize that we are not ultimately responsible sometimes for people's bad moods, right? Could we put people in bad moods? Sure, absolutely we could. But ultimately, we do not have the power to make every single person around us miserable unless we actually seek that out. And I know for the most part, most of you, if not all of you, are not that type of people. Most of us would rather go out of our way to bring someone joy or give them a compliment rather than destroying their day, right? So I think that there is power in the idea that, it's not always about me. And that's okay. I don't want it to always be about me. I don't want to be the person that is creating drama or grief or sadness or anything in anyone else. But what was meant was so much healthier. And there are times where I have to remind myself, yes, this person is in a bad mood, but they were probably in a bad mood before I got here, and I try to smile. I try to be nice. I try to offer a kind word, because sometimes that gets people out of their funk. And you know what? Sometimes it doesn't, right? We can just do what we can do. Show compassion, show kindness. And ultimately, other people have internal worlds that don't revolve around us. They might never see us again, and that's okay. I mean, if you're in a distant location from where you live, you'll never see that person again, right? But it still doesn't mean that, that we can't be kind and we can't give encouragement and things like that. They're allowed to be tired. They're allowed to be stressed. They're allowed to have bad days, just like we all are. We all have good days. We all have bad days. And none of that automatically means that you did anything wrong. Let's talk about the reframe. When you assume every mood shift is about you, you carry responsibility that doesn't belong to you. And guess what? I was the queen of carrying responsibility that didn't belong to me. Somebody huffed. I was like, oh my goodness, do they think that I cut in front of them in line? You start kind of wondering that. And ultimately, a lot of that is over responsibility built by trauma, built by wanting to, I guess, in some ways, save others if there's a possibility to do that. Being an over responsible person, you take things that aren't yours. I know that I've taken ownership for things that, my husband will tell me, he's like, no, that is not the case. Like, you had nothing to do with that person's decision. That person made their decision, and that's that. There's nothing you can do about it. You did nothing to cause that. You have to let people make their own decisions, and you can't take responsibility for other people and what they decide to do. You start managing emotional weather that isn't yours to manage. And what a burden that can be, because you already have your own things to manage, right? You have your family, you have your mother, your father, potentially, your children, your siblings. I mean, all sorts of things that you could manage, right? You don't need to sign up for something else to put more on your plate, right? I'm sure your plate's already full, like a lot of ours is. And that is exhausting. At some point, I did come to the realization that I was taking ownership of things that had nothing to do with me. And ultimately, I don't know why. I mean, I don't know why I was signing up for more than I should have been signing up for, right? I have a full plate. I have 5 children. I have a spouse. I have pets. I have all sorts of things to be doing, right? I don't need to add stuff to my calendar just to keep me busy, because I'm busy. I know many of you are as well, right? And that's when things shifted. So let's talk about the tool. So here's a line you can use. When you feel that familiar drop in your stomach, and I know some of you experience that quite frequently, say this quietly to yourself. It's not about me. Breathe. So here's what you would actually do. One slow inhale. One slow exhale. It's not about me. Breathe. Don't fix. Don't apologize. Don't over-explain. Just breathe. Give it 10 seconds and let the moment pass without you rushing to regulate it. If you are a person that struggles with the sound of silence because it feels awkward, because it feels obligatory, because it feels like you need to fill the silence, maybe count to 10, maybe count to 15, whatever you feel that makes you most comfortable. And continue maybe saying that to yourself in your head if that works. It's not always about me. Breathe, right? Just let the moment pass without trying to regulate it, trying to make it more comfortable. Because ultimately, what you may feel like your heart may be beating, you may be sweating bullets, you may be stuttering because you're uncomfortable. Ultimately, I doubt that very many people are going to register that. Because when we're under the gun, so to speak, or we're anxious, things seem so much more dramatic and drawn out than they actually are. And I'm the type of person who talks really fast sometimes when I'm nervous, especially in awkward situations, or I start laughing really loud because I'm uncomfortable, and I don't do well sometimes with being like uncomfortable or embarrassed at times. So I just start laughing. I mean, my kids call me because they say that I laugh loudly, and yes, I do. And sometimes I can't stop laughing, and people are staring at me, and I'm crying. And yeah, I'm a hot mess sometimes, aren't we all? That's what makes us human, right? So let's talk about the empowerment. Not panicking does not make you cold. It doesn't make you harsh. It doesn't make you mean or nasty or anything. It makes you separate. You are not responsible for managing every emotional shift in the room. Adults are allowed to have moods, good moods, bad moods, in between moods, nonchalant moods, middle of the road moods, sad moods, happy moods, the whole range, right? The whole enchilada, the whole buffet. And you are allowed to stay steady when they do. So in closing, if this is something you've done your whole life, you're not dramatic. Don't be putting words into who you are and what you're doing. Don't bring yourself shame, right? Everybody's quirky, right? We all have our quirks. And that's what makes it a beautiful place. I like quirky people. I'm quirky too, I get it. And awkward sometimes and all sorts of things. Put my foot in my mouth sometimes too because, I mean to say one thing and it comes out another and yeah. Oh well, no one's perfect, right? You adapted. But you don't have to keep adapting in the same way. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is realize it's not about you, and that's okay. Isn't that empowering? Isn't that freeing? And it's not a rude, like, it's not about you. Talk to the hand, No, I'm not talking like that. I'm saying we don't have that much power. And isn't that great? I mean, we have the power to be kind and the power to be encouraging, but we are not responsible for every single person on this earth. Thank goodness. And breathe. Thank you for tuning in to Recovering Perfectionist Mama, Grace in Progress. I appreciate it a lot. Thank you so much for tuning in. And I just want to let you know that I am pretty close to 500 hours coming up here soon. So I will be scheduling something here like a live Q&A on YouTube. If you guys are interested, stay tuned for those details. So I decided to pop the announcement right now because I was like, hey, why not? So yeah, stay tuned for that. I will give a date in advance for sure. So if you all wanted to have a conversation about some trauma and some other things that you might have had questions about, or just get a chance, an opportunity to get to speak to you all on YouTube Live, that would be wonderful. If you're interested, please let me know in the comments. I'd appreciate it. And again, I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for making my dream of having a podcast possible. And thank you so much for all your support. It means a lot to me. And if you have a story idea that you're interested in or a topic, I would love to look into it for you if that's something that you're interested in. And once again, I hope you have a great rest of your Sunday. And hey, spring's almost here, right, guys? If you're ready for spring. All right. Thank you so much. And I hope you have a great rest of your night. Bye-bye. See you soon.